Getting ready to go live in a few minutes, family. Want to tag some people into the video. Hope you all are staying warm and around the country. Durham, North Carolina, we got maybe a half an inch of snow.
Mm.
That's enough to keep me in the house. Hold on 1 second, family. Bringing Sister Joy in. So we got the Queen Mother and the Ambassador already in, so we might as well get started. So I want to thank everybody who's tuning in and will tune in to this dynamic show. Black Hoodie Brigade, first online meeting. I am the Truth Minister, Paul Scott, Minister of Information for the Black Hoodie Brigade. And just to go over the mission of the Black Hoodie Brigade, knowledge is a weapon. All we do in this particular space is spread knowledge. So I have no problem putting this meeting on Facebook because it's nothing secret. How can you make spreading knowledge a secret? Of course, there are different levels to this game. I'm going to say that again. Of course, there are different levels to this game, but for the Black Hoodie Brigade, for this particular movement, all we do is spread knowledge. That's all we do is spread knowledge. And Durham, North Carolina, that's where we're based. Started on the streets, started with the youth. The youth said, brother, you're passing out all these books. We need to organize something. First, I said, nah, I don't want to organize anything. I'm going to let y'all do it. So I came up with the concept of the Black Hoodie Brigade. And we got all kinds of different walks of life. We got scholars, we got activists, we got street soldiers, we got youth, we got my grandchildren, we got babies. All in the Black Hoodie Brigade with the mission of spreading knowledge around the Bull City. And we have a 4-step program, 4 simple steps to spread knowledge. There are 4 steps to the Black Hoodie Brigade. Number 1, get a book. Number 2, study that book. Number 3, teach what you learned in that book to somebody else. And number 4, repeat the process. So it's really about spreading knowledge to one person, one book at a time, because a lot of times people get frustrated and get intimidated. Well, brother, you read 100 books. You got 3,000 books in your library. I'm not that adept with Black history. Black Hoodie Brigade, we're doing it one book at a time. Read one book. Teach that, study that one, get one book. Study that one book. Teach that one book you read to somebody else. And repeat the process. Get another book and do the same thing over and over again. So before we bring on our special legendary guests, where all y'all are legendary, but Ambassador Joy, you got any comments? You're on mute right now.
Hey brother, no comments right now. Happy to be here. I love how you break down the process simply. I guess I will say this too, like you said, it's most important I think that you do something. Okay,
Mhm,
maybe you don't have to read 5 books this month. But did you read an article?
mhm.
Um did you see somebody walking with their head down and say, "Hey King, pick your head up"? Did you tune in, to a summary if you couldn't stay for the whole meeting? Did you um check in with somebody that did go to the meeting and ask them to take a couple notes so that you can still be up to date on what's happening? Like, start where you can, and that's enough, but the goal should always be to grow, right? So start where you can. There's always room for growth. Do what you can. Don't just make an excuse to do nothing. That's one of my pet peeves.
Indeed, it's always something somebody could do. Brother Damon, how you
Yes,
doing,
sir.
good brother?
I'm good, man.
Minister of Defense, Brother Damon. You got any words for the people?
Glad to be here.
Okay, and we glad to have you here, good brother. Um, and I got a surprise that I didn't even tell y'all about. Sometimes I like to spring surprises on people. See who's going to show up first. Then I'll spring a surprise. We have right now on with us the person I go to for advice. I've been in this movement 30 years in Durham, 32 years. But I want to reach out to the elders who are in the history books. I want to reach out to the elders who really went through something. We have on the line my queen mother, Mae Jackson, who knew the Black Panthers, who was a member of SNCC in the 60s, who knew Malcolm X, who knew Afeni Shakur, who you can read about in history books, who you can go on, look at the old episodes of Soul, that show from the 70s that had all kinds of poets and freedom fighters and Muhammad Ali and Kwame Ture. And she's up there too reading poetry. Friend of Nikki Giovanni. Friend of so many people we read about in our history books. So we are ecstatic to have somebody I talk to on a regular basis, but I want her to address the Black Hoodie Brigade because there's really nothing I can add. All we're doing is spreading knowledge around the Bull City. So everybody knows the mission to spread knowledge. So I want to bring on our Queen Mother, Mae Jackson. Thank you for joining us, Queen Mother.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for inviting me. Can you hear me?
We can, loud and
Yes,
clear.
ma'am.
Okay.
So, Queen Mother, you have been in the movement for, and you can discuss how long, but I think it was important since we have so many young activists in the Black Hoodie Brigade, starting with my grandchildren who are infants, people in their 20s, people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and you are a living legend. So, for those who aren't aware, Queen Mother, give them some background on your start with SNCC and some of the people you met and some background information that they can't read in history books.
Okay. I originally started as a teenager, maybe 15 or so. I started with Brooklyn Core. And from Brooklyn Core, I became a member of SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. And I've worked with the Panthers, just about everybody. But this morning, you know, I'm really very disturbed because I was going to send something to Chairman Fred some hours ago, and all the information disappeared.
Mm.
And for the past couple of days, we've been getting phone calls asking for Chairman Fred.
Tell them who Chairman Fred is for
Oh, I'm
those.
sorry. Chairman Fred Hampton of the Black Panther Party from Chicago. So my spirit is a little disturbed this morning. Sometimes you just have pieces of the puzzle, and it'll be scattered for a while, but you keep those pieces, and soon you'll be able to put them together and make some sense of them. I want to start with what's going on in New Orleans, the bombing there, and the fire that's going on in Hollywood. You know, Hollywood has to be one of the richest places in the USA.
Mm-hmm.
People who, I would say half and half. You've got a lot of political activists, especially women, and especially those from the 60s. You've got a crooked president who's committed a crime but will sit in office. And it's when you see all of those elements together, something is about to happen. You never know, but I think it's worth paying attention to it and just being conscious of where you are and what's around you. But don't be shocked, because we're on the tip of the universe now, and we could very well fall off. I've gotten calls twice this week for Chairman Fred. Who would be calling me about a friend? My friends all know. That seems a little odd, twice in a day. And like I said, I tried to reach Chairman earlier this morning. I wasn't able to get through.
So you think
even though I've been an activist for a very long time, your work tends to change. In the 60s, when you're talking about Black Power and you're educating people and you're organizing people to vote, you're organizing places for, child care for children, a lot of all of those things. But we're at a very critical point in history because most people don't know what's going on, and a lot really don't care. And I think that we're on the edge of history. And we're either going to make it or we're going to be broken by it. And so it bothers me. Oh, the other thing is H. Rap Brown has been in jail for maybe 35 years. And he's not doing very well. I don't. That's just what it looks like. Here, seeing. Well, let me also say this: the death of Nicky Giovanni was very, very painful because she was a fighter, but she was also someone who spent a lot of time with young people, and she was an excellent teacher. She was also my good friend. And when you
Tell us
be,
how you met Queen Mother.
I met her when she came to the SNCC office. We were at in Manhattan on Fifth Avenue, and she had met H. Rap Brown in Tennessee or something, and she had just moved to New York, and she came in, and we started talking, and of course I love all of my comrades in SNCC, but rap was kind of special to me, and maybe it's because we both are from New Orleans, so he's from Baton Rouge, so maybe that was it. But also, he um, had a great sense of humor. And when you're in any kind of struggle, make sure you set aside some time to laugh, because there will be many times when you cannot. And so when you have the time and the space to do that, do it. Now here is my little baby. He's trying to get over here. He thinks he's in a revolution. This is that's my cat, Baldwin, after James Baldwin.
James Baldwin.
Yeah.
Okay.
My daughter gave him that name. And we have another one that,
So you
you have any questions?
I always have questions, but for the benefit of the audience, let's go over some of the people that you used to soldier with or you did work with. You were good friends with Kwame Ture. Can you speak on that?
Well, we all were good friends because we all were stuck, concerned and passionate about freedom. Even when we didn't know each other, you're somehow drawn. I also worked with Jim Foreman, who organized SNCC. There were so many people in SNCC that I worked with who had been college students and who decided for one reason or another that freedom was far more important than them going to school, and so they dropped out of school and they became involved with the movement in the South. Much of the organizing was around voters' education and registration. And then later, after Malcolm, people began to see that nothing was going to change with just what we were doing. And so people began to listen to Minister Malcolm. And I worked with Sister Betty Shabazz. She worked at the Medgar Evers College in Brooklyn. And I worked with the Sisterhood of Black Single Mothers, and we worked in the college, Medgar Evers College. So I had a good chance to meet Sister Betty. And I first met Sister Betty when I was maybe about 18 or something. And always adored her. She was always very kind-hearted, and she loved Malcolm. And I think what I remember most is whenever she would talk about Malcolm, she would still say, "My husband." Even though he had been dead many, many years, she would still say, "My husband." And that gleam in her eyes never left,
And you actually met Malcolm X.
Yeah.
Could you talk about that?
Well, first time I met um, Minister Malcolm was he used to stand on the corner of 125th Street in front of the bookstore, Michelle's bookstore. And he would be, as they say, fishing, speaking and trying to recruit people into the Nation of Islam. And I would see him. It seemed like, well, I used to go to the Apollo like every week. And then I would leave the Apollo with my friends, and we would be on our way to get a barbecue sandwich, which was around the corner, which means that we had to pass Minister Malcolm. And it just seemed like every time we got near him, he would start talking about the evils of eating pork. And so at some point, that was one of my first times meeting Minister Malcolm. But, we were teenagers. And so I'm like, well, why does he always talk about pork when we better go another way? So we started going another way to avoid hearing Minister Malcolm talk about that, about pork. But also there was a restaurant, and we were fascinated with this man who was very compassionate but military like. And so we would go to the restaurant and look in the window and just look at Minister Malcolm. He was just a fascinating person to watch, the way he can embrace you and say brother and sister, but he never broke the discipline, and he never allowed you to communicate with him without recognizing and respecting who he was as a Muslim, as a man, as a freedom fighter. And that's what, so that's my picture of Minister Malcolm. Just fascinated. I mean, he had this great, big, beautiful smile. And you I don't know. He was magical in that presence. Some people have it, many people don't. But it's like, when you're in the presence of someone who is different. I didn't know, no one could predict what type of leader he would become some years later. But I think I saw a young Malcolm who had gone beyond just being a Muslim and touching the lives and the intellect of a lot of people, young and old. And he did so with compassion. And I'll always say discipline. Those are two things that's very important, to know how you feel about your comrade, to be with people that you can trust. That's if you're talking about a revolution. If you're talking about just activism, well, you might not need all of those things.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is a great point. Like I was saying when we started, there are levels to this. And we are so, and let me reiterate, we have history right now because we're not dealing with a book. We're not dealing with a documentary. We're dealing with someone who actually walked it, talked it. You can read about her in history books. You can watch old videos of shows for the 70s and probably I know from the 70s, and you can actually see her. I remember when I first found out who she was, because she's Queen Mother's real humble. I just thought she was a wise elder. And then I turned on Soul from the 70s on Tubi. And Kwame Ture was just giving her all kind of praise. And, you know, Kwame Ture is one of my heroes. So was giving her all kind of praise. And I said, Queen Mother, is that you? She's like, yeah, that's me. Like it was no big thing. It was like no big Kwame Ture. My hero was giving her all these kind of praises. And she was like, yeah, they talking about me. Like it was no big thing. But for the younger generation, this is something that they're really interested in when we're dealing with the whole hip hop thing. You actually, you said, well, actually, Sister Afina Shakur stayed with you for a period. I think you said Tupac too.
Yes, 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 yes. And we were good roommates because we both liked to read.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we did. For, we would talk a little bit, laugh, and then we'll go to, I'll go in one bedroom, she'd go in another, and we would read all day. Then we come back and we would talk. And one of the things that I admired about Afeni, and I think without knowing it, she was every little girl that I grew up with in New Orleans, and she grew up in Carolina. So we were these colored girls. And my daughter was in school, and I think Tupac might have been in jail. Yeah, I think he was in jail. And so we would talk about our children, whom we would say, "Oh, she thinks I'm so dramatic," and she would say Tupac thought she was dramatic. But I like the friendship that we had. She was a good sister, and she won that Panther 21 case
Mm-hmm.
because she was smart, she was articulate, and she was dedicated. Fanny was a very hard worker. You know, she, it was hard to outwork her. She had that quote work ethic, and that's what I like. But I also like that for a while we didn't have to be, just be caught up in being activists. Because one of the things that we used to do is go to a place in Brooklyn where it was called the Maharari Center, something like that, where they would give you light, the body, light. And so we would go there, and we enjoyed going out to dinner. And of course, we talked about our children a lot because
Mm-hmm.
they never met. As long as we had been in the movement, they had never met. But um, they were very much alike in some ways. Because I'm sure that Tupac thought that he was in charge. Like my daughter always thinks that she's in charge, you know, that kind of thing. I also think that there's been a lot of pain, and people are tired, and many people are disillusioned. I don't know how you get people excited about their freedom when they don't know how enslaved they are. So it's very little for the activists to do. Even young people who are interested in coming to quote this movement, they don't know what to say. I mean, the times have changed. You used to could pick up uh, the New York Times and find out what the world was thinking and what they were reading. that doesn't happen anymore. There's no one book that the community, the political community, talks about. There's not one leader that or two that people get excited about. Nobody excites us, and nobody dreams. So when you when you don't have either or, you're in a bad position, which is why you have Trump in office, which is why in the 8 years that Obama was in office, even if you wanted to say this is our downtime, we weren't able to organize. If you say to someone, let's organize, they don't know what you're talking about. They don't know. And that to me is very sad. But one of the things that I did, I ran an after school program. And I ran a program studying for the SAT, because a lot of youth were not able to pass the SAT, which meant that they weren't going to go to college, and was to prepare. Some things you cannot fix, you must repair. And that was one of them, to repair and prepare our young people to take part in changing the world. If you were to ask a young person today, what do you have to contribute? They wouldn't be able to tell you. If you ask them about who their shero or hero, they'll give you the name of probably an actor. You know, there's nobody is in a hurry to be free, because nobody knows that they're still enslaved. So it's like we just, you just walk around and shaking your head. Hi, how you doing? And that kind of thing.
Again, family, we are honored to be joined by a legend, Queen Mother Mae Jackson, one of the early members of SNCC, who talked to Malcolm, who was friends with Sister Betty Shabazz, who Tupac used to live with her. So for you all are listening right now, this is indeed history. We don't have to go by history books. We don't have to go by videos. We can have our elders who are still among us come talk to us. Sister Joy is one of our freedom fighters in Durham, Queen Mother, always working overtime for the people. A member of 15, 16, 17 organizations at one time, and still has room to be part of the Black Hoodie Brigade, still has room to be part of Militant Mind Militia. So Sister Joy, I know that you got to be burning with a question for a living legend. So unmute yourself, Joy, it's on you.
Man, I got so many questions. I done started taking notes over here. Thank you. I'm honored, Mother May, to be able to hear from you and learn from you. I guess I wonder, is the Sisterhood of Black Single Mothers still going, up and running? Anybody still in that? Is there a way to connect with them? Or that was one.
Do you know how our children are grown, and many of them have children of their own? But we're still connected. We kept that sisterhood. Some of us, to the point that, like, when my daughter gets on my nerve, I'll tell her, wait, let me get one of the sisters on the phone. She's like, oh no, because she didn't want to hear the lecture, and the backup. So, but yeah, we still communicate. You know, we're family. Some of us left the sister when we left the sisterhood. We maintained that relationship, but also even though we had an office and well, we had an office in Bed-Stuy. We had a few rules. One, no men were allowed to come into the office because very often, because you're dealing with single women, they had the tendency to knock hard on the door and want to push it in and talk shit to women. You know, sometimes you just can't do that, you know. So we had a set of rules and regulations, and we also helped to organize and work with the Brotherhood of Single Fathers who were also in the community. So oftentimes we did programs together. Now, I don't know if that would work in any other place, but we were in Bed-Stuy, and it had a reputation for certain people being attracted to that area.
Yeah, thank you for that. What's very important, like you said, is the relationships is very important. One things I wrote down, like you said, revolution requires trust. I think we struggle with that, particularly in Durham. There's so much backstabbing and lack of integrity that we lack a lot of trust, and I think that really hurts organizing and it really hurts the movement. So, thanks for that reminder of the power of relationship building. And that revolution requires trust.
I also think it's good to have a sense of humor where sometimes you just don't take it so serious. You have to learn to laugh at yourself and at others. And we're not talking about perfection. We're just talking about being better human beings and not being oppressed. In that case, when it comes to oppression, you got to fight. You have got to fight. It is not easy. My daughter is a vet. She spent 10 years in school becoming a veterinarian, a wildlife veterinarian. She's very disciplined, but she didn't become that just because of me, but because she had a whole sisterhood behind her. I had the sisterhood behind me, and I did the same with other sisters. We also had a few rules. The kids didn't always like it. That was, you're dancing too close. Let's see you dance further apart. You know, they roll their eyes and all of that. But I think you have to make up your mind that you want to be free. Make up your mind that you're going to fight. Make up your mind how you're going to do it. Don't do any more than you want to do, that you feel led to do. And I think if we come together with that, we would be fine. We would be able to do even more if we respect each other as individuals and know that we have our shortcomings. Because people try to be the revolutionaries that they read about in books. Mm-hmm. But those are books written by people who oftentimes edit out the other human part of a person. Mm. That's it.
Any more questions, Sister Joy, or we're gonna get Brother Damon in to see if he has anything?
I just want to thank you for that. I'll let Brother Damon hop in. Yeah, I could probably go on for days. I'm gonna let Brother Damon hop in. And like you said, Truth Minister, I do the most, so I do got another meeting at 2:00 with another community meeting. But just thank you so much for your wisdom and your time.
Thank you,
Thank
Queen.
you. I hope we can keep in touch.
Please, I would love that. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna make sure that happens. Brother Damon, you got a question? Brother Damon is all Bobby Seale. Because you know, Queen Mother, I don't be paying attention all the time.
What about Bobby Seals?
I said, Brother Damon is our version of Bobby Seale because I don't be paying
Oh,
attention all
oh.
the time. I don't be paying attention. My mind, I'll be focused on something else. So I need somebody to make sure look around at surroundings. But you got any questions, Brother Damon?
Yeah, I have one question. You said you knew James Farmer, to do that create the core program, correct?
James Foreman was with CORE, and then James Foreman was with SNCC. So there was two. One was out of I think he was somewhere from the Midwest,
Okay.
and James Foreman from SNCC was from some outside of Chicago or Chicago, someplace like that. So you're talking about two different people.
Okay, so the two programs never worked together, SNCC and core.
No, no, I think we tried, but that was hard. You know, in the 60s, people were really very clear. I'm with SNCC. I'm for revolution, or I'm for peace and harmony and whatever.
Wow.
And now I used to be in CORE, and CORE was there was a segment, a group of people in CORE who were very different. In fact, they were very different. Let me put it that way. And that was under the leadership of Brother Sonny Carson, who had been a gang member. And when the rebellion started in Harlem and came to Brooklyn, it was Sonny Carson who began to organize us to become involved with CORE in Brooklyn. We were on sleeping on the floor for 3 days, 3 nights. And in the day, we had to try to find food to eat. The cops used to, they were going through the community shooting at night. We slept on the floor. Most people had to sleep on the floor. So nobody, there was, in recognition of the rebellion that took place, we had Bed-Stuy Restoration organization that provide housing, office space, and for the community people, of which we could look out of the office over to Biggie Small's house. But the people who created Bed-Stuy Restoration and a movement never really got the recognition that Biggie Small is getting. If you go to Restoration, I was there maybe 2-3 months ago. There was a life-size statue of Biggie Small, who never did anything but sell drugs in the community. Nothing about Sonny Carson. Nothing about any of the young people who took to the street. And nothing. No, nothing.
Queen Mother, if I could interject for those who don't know, when she says Sonny Carson, he was in I know you all know. I know you know Damon, and Adika and Joy, but for Sonny Carson, he is in the classic old school video, the autobiography of Sonny Carson. I think you can watch that on Tubi, maybe. He's
Mm-hmm.
also the father of Professor X from the X Clan. He was also part of the Black Watch movement, which, well, actually, he was affiliated, excuse me, with the Black Watch movement that was eventually became um, uh, X Clan and other entities out of the X Clan family. So I just wanted to make that clear for the younger folks who are watching.
Yeah, Sonny Carson was with CORE. He was the quiet member of CORE, the angry uh, member of CORE, the one who young people looked looked up to. He was the one who said, we want some jobs in here, some summer jobs. Had it not been for people like Sonny Carson, we we would not have had summer programs or some of the training programs. But yet there's not a statue or a sign or anything with Sonny Carson's name, which should be on Bed-Stuy restoration, because had it not been for the rebellion, that place would never have been built. So, that's very disturbing to me, because a lot of people don't put in any work. They complain, but they don't do anything. They wait for a small group of people to make big change. And then when that doesn't happen, they say, well, niggas ain't shit, or niggas don't know how to organize. That's not true.
Mm-hmm. And that brings up something that Sister Charita is asking. Some thoughts. Mindset is important. So is readiness to grow. The problem is we as a people are not all at that point. How do we bring those lost to the mindset and readiness get there? It would not be an easy task. And I add my 2 cents first. Join the Black Hoodie Brigade in Durham and become part of this movement. But go ahead, Queen Mother. If you
No,
want to answer that question, how do we bring those lost to the mindset and readiness
I
to get there?
I don't know. I really don't know. But I want to talk about H. Rap Brown, because Rap Brown, Jamil, has been in jail. I met him when he was about 21. And I think he was in jail maybe 4 years. I think in all, he's about 81 or 82 years old. Out of those years, he's spent at least 50 in jail.
Mm.
And he's very ill. He's out in I think it's Colorado, one of those places near underground. He's
Yeah, super Mac.
underground.
Yep.
And he has a growth on his cheek that's about the size of a grapefruit. And so we have been trying for the past 2-3 weeks to try to get someone in to see him. And that's very, very difficult. One of the brothers who went out to visit with him went out from LA. He's somewhere in the Nevada, someplace underground. So he got out there, they let him in, and then they said, oh, you can't come, you can't visit with him because you have on blue pants, and our guards wear blue pants. Sorry. So the guy had to go out and buy some pants. So that took time and, left him with not as much time. Now, I work with Rap. I have tremendous respect for him. And it pains me that we got the chance to live somewhat of a life, but he didn't. He has been in jail for many, many years. He is forgotten about. But yet he put his life on the line. And there's, one of the things, like maybe it was Jim Foreman, I don't know, But I know that what I've been taught is that when you fight for Black people, you're not doing anybody a favor. And it doesn't make you special, and it doesn't make you smart, and it doesn't mean that you have all the answers. You join, you fight because you make a commitment to change things, because you want people to live, better. If look at your own suffering, look around you, look at the people who are suffering. Don't think because you see a bus full of people all dressed up or on the train that things are well in America. Things are not well in America. And as a matter of fact, we will see in the next few months just how close we are to fascism. It's like we don't see it. It's here, but we just don't see it because it hasn't connected, but it's about to. Do you think that what's going on in California is accidental? The place where you got most of the money? Really? I don't think so. So
you say it's a bigger
California of all places, and where you got the quote liberals who were the people who fund movements, whether you like them or it, but they do.
So you think, is this a prelude of where we're going in 2025, Queen Mother?
Oh yes. Wow. You can look at Trump and tell that man is out for a long lunch break. And that I would say in another year, he's not going to be the president. Something is going to happen. He's not going to be the president. Look at the signs. I talk a lot. But I also listen. And because I talk a lot, sometimes I take a whole week off. And I only talk when necessary. And that also means I don't gossip the whole week. So just so you can quiet the mind and see, just look at what's happening without forming an opinion or arguing with somebody. Look, be quiet, be still. Just be still. And you will see, none of this makes sense. You just had New Orleans. Come on. What's close to New Orleans? Well, you got Galveston, Texas, New Orleans, and you're close to Cuba. Why? What is and Chicago? You got 3 places where a lot of drugs come in. Think about it. And just find the pieces. Like, what is Trump doing? Why? Nobody is saying anything. They just let the man go. Just let him go. No repercussions from that. Why? Then they tell you a sniper shot him. They send in the army 3-4 days before a candidate or president comes to a certain place. Nobody's on the roof or in the house. They make sure, but still, they want us to believe that this just sort of happened on its own. And there's a lot of things that are going on. I don't think that we don't feel each other's pain because we've been too preoccupied in the past 45 years, and especially our young people with rap music and these people. And now it looks like they're going to have a short run. Not because we decided, but the country has decided that's got to go. It no longer serves their interests. They have people right where they need them to be, so they can, the rappers and stuff, they can go someplace else, spend their money and whatever that they do. But
Queen
that
Mother,
movement is geared towards us.
Queen Mother, since you brought up hip hop, we have our original Militant Mind militia member, now a Militant Mind militia affiliate, Brother EGC Divine out of Boston.
Mm-hmm.
Brother EGC Divine, do you have any questions for Queen Mother? Anything she might want to share about hip hop since we're on that topic?
Peace to the family. Peace. Real quick, I thought this was a private meeting. I didn't know it was live on Facebook. I could have been on the chat, but I'm glad to be here. Oh, by the way, Mama Mae Jackson, do I got permission to continue?
Yeah.
Peace, Joy. Peace, Damon. Peace, Truth Minister. The point you made about Biggie and Sonny Carson really hit me, and I'm going to address that to the hip hop community.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't realize that. I didn't even know they had a statue for Big.
It's inside a Bed-Stuy restoration. During the rebellion, all of that area was burned down. And the Kennedys came in and built restoration beds. And so all of the community-based organizations and different things became a part of that. But most and it wasn't just like militant people, but many different classes of people was in restoration. So we were the Sisterhood of Black Single Mothers, the Brotherhood of Black Single Fathers were there. Just a lot of different and some political groups that was there. That also restoration. Many of us were connected to Medgar Evers College. Medgar Evers College started in the basement of a Catholic church on Vanderbilt Avenue in Brooklyn with Sonny Carson, who had been a gang leader I think he was with some group called the Chaplains, and G2 Wausi. G2 was a teacher who later started a school of his own with a group of other people. So to walk into restoration and see Biggie Small, I mean, I could look out, you could look out the window across to Biggie's house. And also, the other thing was there's a senior citizen center there. And my friend got Johnny Cochran to come to the school. He came. I took him to a junior high school, and we invited children from other schools. So there were about 1,000 Black kids in that school, and you could hear a pin drop. They were so quiet. They saw, it was the idea that they saw this Black man stand up and fight and won. They didn't give a damn about what OJ, didn't care about him. The same thing, that same day, after 1,000 kids, you could hear pin drop. Took him to the Fort Greene Senior Citizen Center, again across the street from where Biggie was. And when he got to the senior center, they had laid out a green carpet, and the men were on one side and the women were on the other side. So when Johnny Cochran walked in, they threw flowers at him. And when he got in, he talked about the case, sat down and had lunch with, with the people. And I heard, and everybody told their story. And one black man, might have been in his 90s, he said, I don't give a fuck about what was the guy? The opposition. He said he didn't give a damn about him. He said, I just want to see a black man win. He said, I watch you fight. He said, because I remember a time when a white man walked down the street, I had to walk down the sidewalk. I had to walk in the street. He said, I don't care what OJ did, but I'm glad that you are here today because they needed to know that all those years that they spent having to walk wherever they were instructed to, not having the freedom to walk on the sidewalk. When the white man come, you got to jump in the street. So seeing Johnny Cochran was a victory for them. He spent the whole day there. And someone said, we got a gift for you. And then they pulled out a glove that, with that, if this, don't fit, you must have quit. And he spent the day eating lunch with seniors. So after some of the seniors were on the bus, going down Fulton Street, and they were saying, oh yeah, we had lunch with Johnny Cochran. And my friend was on the bus. She had been there. And she said people were shaking their head. And they were saying, oh, those poor old people, they think they saw Johnny Cochran. Because even they couldn't conceive of a Johnny Cochran being in that place with those senior citizens. And then maybe about a week later, I got a phone call from the editor, and they said, go home, there's a package for you. And when I got home, there were boxes. Johnny Cochran had sent me 400 copies of his book to give out to the community, especially to the children, So sometimes when it looks like nothing is happening, something is happening, but it's where you look, where you put your attention to. And nothing that you do is too small. The fact that you got up this morning and you're on here because you care about what happens to you, your family, your sisters and your brothers, the future. That's not an easy thing to do today. It wasn't that easy yesterday or the day before, but it's not that easy. But you're here, so you feel some kind of way. And I don't know what to say, but like George Jackson said, we will win, but we got to keep doing it. And we have to put a greater emphasis on education to be able, education. That's key.
And that's why in the Black Hoodie Brigade, we're out there on the street corner giving away free books. Sister Veronica says hello, Queen Mother.
Oh, hi.
She's donated books. Queen Mother donated books to people here. Dale, Damon, Joy, everybody's donated wristbands and books. So what we try to do is raised the consciousness of our city in the Black Hoodie Brigade, starting one neighborhood at a time, brag time, and spreading throughout Durham, raising the consciousness. Brother Deacon, did you, EGC Divine, did you have a follow-up question?
No, I just want to say thank you, Queen Mother, and thank you, Truth Minister, for bringing me on. Thank you for the wisdom. Thank you for your work, all that you have done. I also want to give a special thank you for bringing the balance, because you mentioned, what is it, the sisterhood of single mothers?
Uh-huh.
Because a lot of times where I go to these meetings and hear about these meetings, I hear groups like this mentioned, but they never mention the balance. They never mention the masculine entity of that. And you mentioned the single fathers brotherhood. So I
Them
appreciate that.
single fathers was right in there with the sisters when we would have the the dance for the for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
The fathers be going in, peeping, saying, that's too close, stand back.
Yep.
So
That's what I would do
because
if I was there.
and we worked very well with them. We had workshops for our kids on sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
And we also once a year we gave out, I think, maybe 2 awards to the father of the year, and we did that for many years. We tried, there are some things that we needed to do together, but the brothers were also um, role models for our daughters, the type of man that we would like for them to know and meet and be and hang out with. And one of the things we would allow them to be together alone. And we remember what we told you, none of that hugging and all that, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
And that was good because some of them are still friends today. They became friends. So as they got older and they were dating other guys, they would go and talk. They had friends who were male friends, and not just a bunch of sisters always talking together about what men are. These were men. They saw sisters and brothers together talking about how we want to build a world for them and how you treat your wife and your husband and your friend and everybody who's your friend. You don't have to fall in love with them. You can have friends. And, as a parent, that's what and and the other thing that was very good about it is that, sometimes you get tired of telling a child the same thing over and over again. So sometimes you need to be able to take a break and let somebody else come in and talk. Now with my daughter, Daphne Busby, who talks real fast, she said, oh no. I said, well, maybe I need to get Daphne to come in and talk to you. She said, oh no. No. She wanted to pick who she want, someone who wants to read poetry and whatever, so that they wouldn't have the discipline and ask the questions. So, but that's what being growing up and being a teenager is about. We have to allow our children to do that, but we have to have some kind of control. If we don't provide them with that kind of experience, we've lost them. They out in the street. They're not our comrades, the future comrades. They're our enemies. They become the dope dealer and the this, the woman, all of that. So we think like big organizations do these things. Small organizations can do this work. Don't worry if you don't have 1,000,000 people, whatever. If you got 3, if you got 4, work with what you have. That's still a good job and a necessary job. And that one person, like a Malcolm or Elijah, can change things. H. Rap Brown changed things. And never, let me tell you this quick story. Because the FBI, I've had a lawsuit against them because they used to just harass me looking for rap. I'm like, I don't know where he is. Why you come every day, you know? But they harassed me so much. I had never met my father. My mother and my father separated when I was 6 months old. So I never met my father. My father, his relatives said, oh, he walked off one day, 10, 15 years ago. We haven't seen him. We think he's dead. When the FBI was looking for H. Rap Brown, they found my father. I was maybe 22 years old. So they find him. Nobody had seen him in all of these years. And they find him. And they never asked him one thing about me. They showed him a picture of Rap Brown and asked him, had he ever seen him? My father said, no. Now, they also went to my cousin's college campus and asked, I had never met him. He'd never, so they have all kinds of information about us. And that if that was over 40, 45 years ago, the technology that they have today is 100 times more powerful. So they found my father, and I was able to connect with my father for the first time. Can you imagine that they could find someone that they would even want? They didn't, that they would even want to find someone. But I never figured out what was the purpose other than to say they know everything. They can find out most everything. And so I got the chance to spend maybe a year and a half before my father died. And I was maybe 20 something years old. So that's a lot of technology, I guess you could say, that they had. I don't know.
Wow, that's just the stuff we know about. Think about the stuff we don't know about yet. It's probably going to come out 20 years from now. Brother Dale,
But let
Minister
me
of
say that.
What'd you say, Queen Mother? I'm sorry.
One thing that just came to my was in talking to Rap one day, I was doing something and he came over to where I was and he said, if someone knocks on your door, you don't ask who it is. You just let them in. And I'm like, and he didn't say anything other than that, right? Walked away. I'm like, oh yeah, everybody wants to be deep, and went back to work. Years later, the knock came at the door. And I opened the door. And I remember what he said to me. And I never asked a question. I just let them in. So that's it.
Again, family, we are not the Black Hoodie Brigade. We ain't playing with y'all in 2025. We love the books, but we love the documentaries. But we have a living legend, an elder from the movement from the 60s, who you can research, who you can watch on old videos, Queen Mother Mae Jackson. So, Brother Dale, Minister of Politics.
Yes, sir.
Militant Mind Militia, Black Hoodie Brigade.
Okay.
Questions, brother, for Queen Mother.
Yeah, first of all, let me say I'm humbled to be in your presence, and we sit at your feet and stand on your shoulders. So much love and respect for everything you have done. Even though I'm not intimately familiar with your story, I'm just honored to be able to speak with you today. Couple questions. So I'm from the southeast part of the state, Wilmington area. We had a few racial incidents. One of them being the Wilmington 10, which was real big. One of my other elders was talking about him being a young man, a young boy when the movement as we know it started. And he said that the majority of black people thought, this is his words, thought Martin Luther King was crazy and thought Malcolm X was out of his mind. So they just wanted them to be quiet and stop stirring up trouble. Can you talk about how you navigated? Because I know you were around a lot of people like that. Can you talk about how you dealt with those people and how you kept from letting it discourage you?
Well, the difference to me was when I was in SNCC, you do the shit work. You do what needs to be done. You know, when you in the presence of Malcolm, you really have to decide what you can do and what you want to do. You know, you can be a soldier or you can be a teacher. That's your choice. Whatever you want to give to this struggle. Nobody can make that decision for you. You make your own decision about what you want to do. And no matter what organization that you're in, make sure you have input that you tell them now, because leaders always quote leaders, at least the ones that they like to push on us. Like you don't have it, you have to listen to what they have to say, and because they have all the knowledge. But you can take the most inarticulate person. Freedom isn't hard to explain. In fact, you can explain. That's what you feel in your heart, what you know you deserve to be free. Every animal knows that, you know? So it doesn't take a genius to do that. You do what you are capable of doing. Don't take on any role because someone thinks you should be doing this or that. You have a mind, think for yourself. Some people are not cut out for some of this stuff. But I tell you, it was very hard when the FBI is going all around the damn neighborhood asking people about me. You know, but what they did not know was I was responsible with Sonny Carson Corps. That whole area had been white. And we were the first Black people to move in. So, you know, you fight for what you want. You fight for what you want. Please know, you get tired and people get on your nerves and you say, I don't ever want to see that person again. But you'll get over it, you know. And you have those days when nothing, where you just say, I don't know, because sometimes just watching the news and seeing Black folks fall, and I mean, this whole thing with Puffy and all of that. Go back 45 years and tell me that wasn't planned. When that happened, when they said, you can call anybody bitch, hoe, you can rob them, whatever, because that Black power stuff ain't shit. That's what they taught people. And that was the beginning of the death of a movement. But also, you know, we didn't know how to disagree without trying to beat each other up and taking, it's like a street gang. So part of you know, so much time was spent trying to put people together. Sometimes you just, if you know you don't fit in there, then go someplace else. If you can't find someplace else, start it yourself. You know, don't wait on anybody to tell you what to do. Now, in my community, in the building that I lived in, complex that I lived in, everybody knew that I couldn't cook. So they told me, we will help you feed the hungry, but please don't you cook. So they would once a month. They all brought food, and I took it to the men's shelter in Brooklyn and gave it out. And the other thing is, please have a sense of humor, and don't because you can fight with someone today. Don't hold it. Well, maybe a day or two, but learn to let that stuff go, and remember to do what you feel comfortable doing. My mother had my back. The people in my community had my back. When I remember, I heard this noise at the door, but my mother answered the door. Then I hear all this noise out in the hallway, and I go out in the hallway, and my mother is fighting with 3 white men. So one lady came out and she screamed. She said, "Call the police." I'm gonna tell you, my mother said, "This is the fucking police." When my mother said that, 2 more people, 2 brothers opened the door. They came, they beat the shit out of them, threw them on the elevator, and we were only on the 2nd floor, and pushed the button, they went down. So you never know, what you are doing, what word you say to somebody is going to make a difference in their life. Also, this is a very painful movement. It is very stressful, and it challenges your hope, because there are times when you turn on that TV and it just looks hopeless. And then maybe that's the time you turn it off and go do something else until you can get the hope back. But don't fight those feelings of, oh Lord, this looks horrible. Don't do that. Stay with it and let it fly by. And that way you can get along. I can go anywhere and get along with people. I respect who they are. I'm not trying to be them. But what we have in common is we want to see people whole and healthy. We don't always have to agree on how that's done, but it's important that we respect one another. And I know people say, I don't like we're all in it together. There's nobody more intelligent or none of that. Because being fearless, fighting, that's innate. You don't need anybody to treat you bad. Anyone. And white people, for the most part, have not been very nice. And now they're not even nice to themselves, to each other. So it's a different day. And I think I think it's important to sometimes get away from everybody, and don't talk. Just maybe 2 days and just listen. Just listen. Let me just tell you this one thing. And it just came to my mind. The last time that I saw little Malcolm, we were at the University of Chicago, and they had Chairman Fred's car on exhibit at Malcolm X College. And little Malcolm came into the room, and the guard, for some reason, he was irritated, and he just jumped on, take off that hat. He had just on a little hat. And he was just agitating him, just picking on him. He didn't know who he was. He just was being nasty. And so the first thing little Malcolm did was to look at his hand. to see if there was anything in his hand. And by the way, that's what you do when you're in prison. When you get in a confrontation, make sure you look at somebody's hand. And that's what little Malcolm did. By then, a group of students came by, and they said, "Man, do you know who this is? This is little Malcolm X grandson, and that's Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. Are you crazy?" And it was a big crowd who, had gathered by then. And Chairman was on the phone. He said, "Well, you gonna call the police? Let me call some of the clubs." And that's when the students said, "You ain't calling nobody." And they stood up. It was the first thing that I noticed about little Malcolm was when the guy confronted him. Before he said a word, he looked at that guy's hand to see what was in his hand. And when he knew that he could, he didn't have anything in his hand, then he responded to him. That was, they have Malcolm's Oldsmobile on exhibit at the Chicago, at the Malcolm X College in Chicago. The chilling thing for me was that when I embraced Malcolm, I felt like I wouldn't see him again. I could just feel it. And I went back to Chairman and I said, "Chairman, don't let him out your sight." He said, "Okay." And maybe 6 months later, somebody had taken him to Mexico. And I think he was thrown off of a roof. Yeah.
I met little Malcolm probably a year before that happened. So, yeah. It was sad.
He didn't know. I mean, he didn't know what to be.
Right.
He didn't know what to be. And remember, he was only 12 years old. They paraded him all up and down the street so everybody could look at him like he was in the zoo. And the people who knew it was illegal to take he was a youth, and do that, they knew it, but they didn't care because he probably represented the Malcolm X that they remembered and didn't like. And Malcolm's Oldsmobile is on exhibit at the college.
Still.
Yeah.
Wow. Again, family, Black Hoodie Brigade, Durham, North Carolina. We read the books, we study the books, we organize around the books, but we also try to make the connection with our elders who've been there doing the work. We're just the next phase. Brother Dale, did you want, since you talking about Southeastern North Carolina, did you want to mention a family member, or do we want to keep that offline?
No, I'm always gonna shout out my cousin who I yet had the pleasure of meeting, Sister Asada Shakur, formerly known as Joanne Chesimard. I'm a Freeman from Southeast North Carolina. Her grandmother was a Freeman, and she spent time in a little area right outside Carolina Beach, which is in Wilmington, called Seabreeze. There are a lot of family from the Seabreeze community. So shout out to the 910 and my cousin that I hope to meet before she transitions.
Listen, I met Asada. Call from Jerry. I met her before, but I met her when she was in prison. at the federal prison in downtown Brooklyn. And there was a program. I used to work in prison, by the way. I ran a program for incarcerated men and for the children of incarcerated men and women. And so I was there with another group who was doing a program, and a group of sisters came up to me and they said, you want to see Assata? I said, yeah. The next thing I knew, they circled me, and I was in the room with Assata, and all we could do was just to embrace. The first thing she asked me was, did my daughter, she wrote a poem for Njeri, and she wanted to know had Njeri received it, because she had still, she had written it when her arm was in the cast. And I told her, no. But so it was good to, the other thing is, I took my daughter to the post office and, get some stamps. And there's a wanted poster on the wall with the picture of, the 10 most wanted. So she sees Assata and she starts singing. You know how kids sing, Assata, Assata. And everybody in the post office looked at me. And then they said, Miss O, you can come ahead of me, because that Assata was the woman who made them shake. I don't know any other way to put it, but I think they kind of knew she was a revolutionary woman. So, and
Go ahead,
and I've had to, I was, because I worked in prison. I mean, those sisters just surrounded me, and we got the chance to hug, and then they took me back out. She had written a poem or something for and my daughter, and she was asking me, did she get it? And I'm like, no, she didn't get it. So it was stopped in the mail.
What you are listening to, family, is history you can't find in any history books. First source, first reference, as all good researchers say, always go for the first reference. So we have a first reference right here where you don't have to go by what somebody said. You can ask her directly. So family, before we wrap up the day, any questions for Queen Mother?
I'm sorry, I got one last question, and I'm gonna be quiet.
No, go ahead, brother.
I like to talk, Paul.
No, I mean, you're good. As long as Queen Mother got time, you got time. So it's cold outside.
Since I'm the minister of politics, I got to ask this question. So Queen Mother, I heard you talking about the national political scene and that type of thing. It seems to me in the conscious community, the woke community, whatever you want to call it now, it's kind of passe to talk about national politics. Like they're like, oh, why would you care about that? So can you talk about like your perspective on, politics at the state, local, state, and national level?
Oh, I think it's a big mystery. I don't think that they know. I really think that we're just a step or two away from fascism. It grows. We're closer and closer each day. It's not like something that's off. We're going to have a hard time. I mean, just look at what happened in New Orleans. Then you got Hollywood. I mean, you got places where things take place. New Orleans, near Cuba, you got the 3 ports. Something is going on. I don't know what it is, but we need to spend time trying to figure it out, because how is it going to impact us? Our children don't like us. They don't respect us. They don't listen to us. They listen to rap music. So somebody's an old man and a bitch and a witch and a this and a that. Our children, we've got a generation gone. And that's our biggest problem. Please go and listen to what's going on with Puffy and all of that. With them, rap music, 45 years of total brainwashing. So it's nothing for somebody to call you a bitch, you are this, you are that. You seldom hear people say brother or sister, or have that sense of we are one, we're together in this. That feeling is not there. So you can look in Trump's face. The man is not all there. They know it. And Hollywood, well, Hollywood, that's the quote liberal place. It's not like they took out a little bit. All of Hollywood. That means a whole industry and people with money who support movements and stuff, gone. What will take its place? Because they see that would be their quote, the liberals, because we don't hear anybody talking about revolution. We don't even talk about that with our closest, with friends. Nobody talks about politics. Nobody is reading. You used to, well, one of the things with the computer, like you don't even have the Amsterdam News. They weren't selling the Amsterdam News. Then they were online. Nobody wanted to buy it. I guess it's still there, but the news is not getting around. And we are not talking to each other. If you start to talk to politics to someone at a party, you will be left there by yourself with a drink in your hand or food, and they are gone. I mentioned H. Rap Brown. That man is very, very sick. Do you think anyone cares? They don't care. And the last thing is, his brother said was before he died was don't forget rap. You can't get anybody interested. So that's it.
And that would lead me up to my closing questions. If none of the Black Hoodie Brigade have any more questions, do y'all have any more questions before we let Queen Mother go? Okay, so that'll lead me up to my closing question. In the Black Hoodie Brigade, our mission is to raise the consciousness of the streets in Durham, North Carolina, starting in Durham, North Carolina, starting at home. We're just trying to raise the consciousness. If we could raise the consciousness 1 degree, we've done our job. We have made our uniform, the Black Hoodie. We have Black Hoodie Brigade wristbands. We have the Black Hoodie Brigade caps with the red, black, and green pin. Queen Mother, as we strive, along with your closing remarks, as we strive to raise the consciousness in Durham, North Carolina, what advice, based on your historical knowledge, can you give us?
Well, I don't know that I could give any in that short time, but what I can do is
take your time, Queen Mother. Take your time.
Invite you. What we need to sometimes just meet in small groups. If you want to bring a group of people here, I can house you and feed you, and we can sit and talk and see what we can do, where we are, what we can do together, what we can do on our own. And all you got to do is get here, and I'll provide everything else so that we can, just having someone to discuss things with is good. You don't have to go out and do anything, that you don't want to do, but we need to know that each of us are here.
Your volume dropped, Queen Mother.
Yeah, that's
Okay, there you
that's
go.
so. If anyone would like to come up, or if you're this way, give me a call. Okay.
All right.
And that's Bed-Stuy, Queen Mother?
No, I'm in Yonkers now,
Okay, in
but
Yonkers.
we're not
Okay.
far.
Okay, I just need to know where here is. I'm gonna pull up.
Okay.
All right. Queen Mother, it has been an honor. And our ambassador, Sister Joy, says she wants me to link you up with her. So I'm going to make that happen. I'm going to give her your Facebook
Okay.
information so y'all can connect.
Let's try to do something together, or if it's something that I can do to help, nothing is too small. But let's try to stay together and support one another the best way that we can. In small ways, just as important as the big ways, you know?
Mm, indeed, Queen Mother. And with that being said, I want to thank everybody. And again, Sister Veronica was in the chat. She wanted to send her regards to you, Queen Mother.
Okay.
I want to thank everybody who is tuned in to this Black Hoodie Brigade, which started off as just a informal meeting
Yeah.
for the Black Hoodie Brigade, but since we were honored to have Queen Mother join us, I said, nah, let's seize the moment. Let's seize the time, like Bobby Seale would say. Let's seize the time and do a
Okay.
political education situation. So, because with the Black Hoodie Brigade, we already know what our mission is. We already know our mission. Everybody's already been given their mission. So we know what the mission is. So I said today, since we have a legend, Queen Mother Mae Jackson of SNCC, knew Malcolm, knew the Black Panthers, a legend her own right. And if you all don't have the link to watch her do her, I'm going to post a link on my page actually of her on Soul. Soul, the TV show from the 70s. I'm going to post a link when we get off on our, no, I'm going to post it on here after we get off about her, and it shows her doing her poetry on Soul, which was a dynamic show from the 70s. So Queen Mother, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your wisdom. I'm going to make sure you and Ambassador Joy get together, and we're just trying to make it happen in Durham, North Carolina, Queen Mother.
Okay. Thank you.
All right,
And
thank you.
everybody have a good evening.
You as well.
Okay.
So,
Bye-bye.
bye, Queen Mother. Peace.
Bye-bye.
So,
Talk to you later.
all right. So, Black Hoodie Brigade, thank you for joining. Brother Divine, thank you for joining. We'll talk more about what's going on in Durham. The base is still Bragtown, but the headquarters in Stanford L. Warren is back open. Headquarters is going to be Stanford L. Warren. It'd be good if we could come out in uniform and go to the library one at a time, two at a time, three at a time, and just be a presence in Durham, just to be a presence in Durham, because the more people in Durham see us openly embracing the Black Hoodie Brigade, the more people see us wearing our Black hoodie gear, the caps, the wristbands, the more people see us saying, greeting each other, good morning salute every morning. The more people see us using the Black Hoodie Brigade hashtag on Facebook, on social media, the more people see us actually representing the Black Hoodie Brigade proudly. Because once we show we're proud of being in the Black Hoodie Brigade, it's contagious. If we're acting like we're ashamed of it and we're shy, that's people going to pick up that vibe. But even if it's just a few of us who out there repping the Black Hoodie Brigade, pretty soon we'll take over Durham. We'll change Durham because ain't nothing else popping. We are that next phase. We are that next era. You had the Malcolm X Liberation University era back in 1968, 1969. You had the no bookstore era in the 80s and 90s and the early 2000s. This is the era of the Black Hoodie Brigade, where we take all that knowledge and bring it to the streets. So if there are no more comments, any comments, family, if there are no more comments, we can close out. I want to thank everybody for joining, everybody who's watching, everybody who will watch it. Share this video, because you had information in this video from our elder, Queen Mother, Mae Jackson, that you won't get anywhere else. So push the share button on this video. And until next time, family, we leave you with the Black Hoodie Brigade motto: knowledge is a weapon. Peace, family.